This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 17th day of May in the year 2018. Here's what we're tracking tonight. The Guyana Police Force today released statistics related to crime and criminality in the country. The stats cover the first quarter of the year from the month of January to April. According to the police, there was a 26% decrease in cases of murder. The country recorded 26 murders in the first 4 months of the year. Of those murders, 11 were of the disorderly type, 7 stemmed from domestic violence, 6 were related to robberies, and 2 have been classified as unknown. But although cases of murders are on the decline, there was a 26% increase in robberies where no instruments were used, and a 13% increase in armed robberies when compared to the same period last year. Cases of rape are down by 17% when compared to last year, and burglaries are also on the decline. When it comes to the country's roadways, however, the police force has recorded an 11% decrease in fatal accidents. 34 persons lost their lives on the country's roadways in the first 4 months of the year, with the majority being pedestrians. Speeding remains the leading traffic offense being committed on the country's roadways, according to the police. Court matters to report right now. Justice Franklin Holder has set May 21 as the date when he will hand down his decision in the challenge being pursued by 2 former People's Progressive Party civic government officials that the misconduct in public office charges against them are not proper. Former Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh and former head of NISL Winston Brassington were charged and granted bail in the magistrate's court on 3 counts of misconduct in public office over the sale of 3 tracts of government land at prices believed to be far below the market prices. One of their attorneys, Anil Nandlal, had moved to the High Court seeking to have the charges brought by the Special Organized Crime Unit dismissed completely. Oral submissions were presented in chamber for both the state, headed by the Solicitor General Kim Kite, and the defense. That process went on for close to 4 hours yesterday. At the end of the exchanges, and after the judge would have heard arguments from both sides, the lawyers emerged only to say that a decision will be handed down next Monday. The charges are going ahead in the magistrate's court, however, with Singh and Brassington expected to return to court on June 5th for reports. Back in April, the High Court refused to grant an interim order to halt the case brought against the 2 men while they await a substantial judgment on the challenge of the legality and validity of the charges. On the labor front, the Guyana Public Service Union is threatening legal action against the management of the Guyana Georgian Mines Commission over its failure to lay over deducted union dues from its employees to the union. The GPSU says it has not received any dues for more than its 300 members at the GGMC for some 9 months, and it intends to go ahead with legal action within the next 2 weeks. The concerns over the non-payment of dues were raised by GPSU's Vice President Dawn Gardner, and it comes amid reports with worker dissatisfaction over poor representation by the union on critical health and safety matters. During the press conference today at the union headquarters, Gardner denied that the union has shied away from its responsibility to represent the more than 300 workers at the GGMC.
Here we are. These monies continue to be deducted from the workers' salaries. And management is arbitrary, withholding the monies. We wrote the board, we wrote the ministry, we wrote the commission. And that is why, with this information now that was published in the papers, where we have Gaspari saying that they instruct the management to withhold and refund the monies to the workers. That is why we're concluding that management, the board, and the ministry are in collusion.
There are reports that another union, the Civil Servants and General Workers Union, has laid claim to now be representing the workers of the Guyana Georgian Mines Commission, but the GPSU has rejected that and says it is not legitimate. And finally this evening, opposition leader Jagdeo yesterday declared that political activist and former treason accused Benschop should be thanking him and the PPP and going to church every day and pray for the PPP because he was pardoned. It was under Jagdeo's presidency that Benschop was charged for sedition and treason. He was charged for treason after a protest outside the office of the president that he was a part of became violent as the protesters stormed the compound. 2 of the protesters were shot dead. Benschop served over 5 years behind bars on a treason charge before being pardoned by Jagdeo. He was never convicted. At a press conference yesterday, Mr. Jagdeo sought to defend his party's opposition to a sedition clause in the cybercrime bill. The PPP has come in for some criticism for its criticism of the sedition clause, since 3 persons, including Benschop, were charged for sedition while it was in office.
He should be thanking the PPP every morning, go to church and say a prayer for the PPP, the Benschop. Rather than comparing that with this government trying to criminalize free speech and calling it seditious. It wasn't free speech he was charged for. It was his role in that activity.
In an interview with News Source from his New York office, Mark Benschop told News Source that he is surprised that Jagdeo is even talking about church and God. He said Jagdeo is still fighting for relevance.
The funny thing is, Jagdeo is fighting for his political life. He is irrelevant. I am a bit disappointed that he's not behind bars, eating pan top and going on his knees, praying to his God and asking for forgiveness for all of the atrocities committed under his government, all of the wrong things that he has done whilst he was president of Guyana. That is what he needs to do. Go on his knees and ask for forgiveness. He needs to repent for the many things and the torment that he has caused and the trauma, that he has caused many Guyanese. He has to go down on his knees and beg God for forgiveness.
Benschop has called on the government to review and remove the sedition clause from the cybercrime bill, but he maintains that the PPP should not be commenting on the issue. The government has announced that it will be reviewing the bill. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.